project, and part of their job is to watch after the details of licensing and attribution to make sure that we make good choices. And we try to use this principle to guide all of our technology choices at every step of the way. So it's an important project. It's being watched by several states. It's being watched by other agencies within the state. And this is all possible because of the JPL. And on that note, I'm going to look at my notes here because I have some details. So on that note, I would like to talk about our guest speaker a little bit today. So he founded the free software movement in 1983. He launched the GNU operating system development and is the developer for that. He also created the GNU General Public License, the GPL, which is the foundation for free software licensing used throughout the world to this day. He has several awards I'd like to call out here. He's a recipient of the ACM Grace Hopper Award, the ACM Software and Systems Award, the Electronic Frontier Foundation's Pioneer Award, the Takeda Award for Social and Economic Betterment, and Author Foundation Fellowship. He has received multiple honorary doctorates and is in the Internet Hall of Fame. So with that said, it's my personal privilege and my humble honor to be able to introduce Richard Stallman.
Free software means software that respects the user's freedom and community. So free here means free as in freedom. It means libre software. We're not concerned with the question of price in any sense. We don't care whether you pay for a copy of a program or someone pays you for a copy of a program. We're not against paying people to write software or getting paid to write software. That's just not what the issue is about. The issue is not about how you get a copy of the program. It's about, once you have it, how does it treat you? Does it treat you ethically, or does it attack your freedom? Does it subject you to the power of someone else, or does it give you control over your computing? That's the issue here. So what is a program? What is a computer? A computer is a general purpose computing engine. Boy, that took a long time. But conceptually, it can only do one simple thing. Get the next instruction and do what that says. And then it gets the next instruction and does what that says. And the next, and the next. Millions of times a second, it will get the next instruction and do whatever that says. The instructions come from a program. So depending on what instructions are in the program, they can make the same computer do this or that or that or the other thing, anything at all, except for the things the computer can't do, like this. So the crucial question is, who gives the instructions to your computer? You might think it's you, when really it's someone else. You might think your computer is obeying you, when really all the time it's obeying its true master. And its true master deigns to let it do what you ask for, except when it decides not to let you. With any program, there are two possibilities. Either the users control the program, or the program controls the users. It's always one or the other, because there's no other way it could be. When the users control the program, that's free software. Why so? Well, what is freedom? It's having control of your own life and activities. But if you use a program to do the activity, control of the activity requires having control of the program that's doing it for you, or program. So, when the users control the program, they have control over what they do with it, and therefore it respects their freedom and community. practically speaking, for the users to control the program, they need the 4 essential freedoms. So those make the practical criterion for free software. Freedom 0 is to run the program any way you wish for any purpose. Freedom 1 is to study the program's source code and change it so that you can make it do your computing activities the way you wish. Why do we insist on source code? Well, here's some source code and some executable code. The source code is written in a programming language. It's sort of a combination of English and math. If you've learned that language, you can understand the source code and you see what it does, and you can change it to do some other thing. However, to run the program, we convert it into an executable, which is a bunch of enigmatic 1s and 0s. Well, if it's that short, it wouldn't take a suitably skilled programmer very long to see what they do. But when it gets to be somewhat longer, figuring out what they mean is hard. And when it has a million 1s and 0s, figuring out what they do is a very hard job, something people don't try to do except as a last recourse in the case of desperation. So to say to users, you're free to change these 1s and 0s if you could figure out what they mean, that's mockery of freedom. That's not respect for the user's freedom. To really respect their freedom, they've got to have the source code. So these 2 freedoms together give us separate control over the program, which means I'm free to change my copies, and you're free to change your copies, and you're free to change your copies. Well, this is absolutely essential. Here we see 1 user exercising freedom 1, and 3 others that are just using the program the way they got it. This is essential, but it's not enough, especially because many users are not programmers. They don't know how to exercise freedom 1, but they still deserve control over their computing. How can they have control if they don't know how to program? Through collective control, which is the freedom to collaborate with other users to exercise together control over what this program does. Was for sure. So at the top we see 3 users that are working together on making a modified version of the program. 2 of them, the ones on the right, are directly touching the code. They must be programmers. The one on the left is not touching the code, but is discussing with the other 2 what changes to make. So this is how a non-programmer can participate in control over what the program does for her. Those who cooperate are those who choose to, and it's entirely up to them. So at the bottom, there are 2 other users who are not working with those 3. Could be any reason, like maybe the 2 don't like those 2. Or maybe they like each other, but they have different ideas of what they want the program to do, and those 2 prefer the original version. Or maybe they just never met each other and don't know. Maybe tomorrow they will get in contact and they'll all decide to work together, or maybe they won't. The point is that those who wish to collaborate this way are free to do so, and those who don't wish to are also free not to. Collective control requires 2 more essential freedoms. Freedom 2 is to make exact copies and then give or sell them to others when you wish. And freedom 3 is to make copies of your modified versions and then give or sell those to others when you wish. These 2 freedoms make collective control possible. You see, 1 user in the group who makes a modified version with freedom 3 can make copies of that and give or sell them to others in the group. Then any of them is free using freedom 2 to make more copies of that version and give or sell them to others in the group. And And by the way, the group doesn't have to have any sort of formal existence. Whichever users are cooperating, that's the group. Freedom 2 and Freedom 3 are not limited to the inside of some group. So anyone who gets a copy of a free program can redistribute copies to anyone at all, and even offer copies to the general public, which means publishing that version. So if the program comes with these 4 essential freedoms in a complete and adequate way, then it's free software. And let me remind you of what these freedoms are, because that's the most important point. Freedom 0 is the freedom to run the program as you wish for any purpose. Freedom 1 is the freedom to study the source code and change it so the program does your computing activities the way you wish. Freedom 2 is to make exact copies and give or sell them to others when you wish. And Freedom 3 is to make copies of your modified versions and give or sell them to others when you wish. Now, none of these freedoms is obligatory. You're free to do them if and when you choose to. So, with Freedom 0, you're free to run the program as you wish, but it's not required. If you're a masochist, you can run it as you don't wish. But you're also allowed not to run the program, because the null wish is one example of as you wish. The way you wish to use that program is not to let it run at all. That's your free part of your freedom also. With Freedom 1, you're free to study and change the code if you wish, but it's not required. You can just receive the program and run it without looking at anything. With Freedom 2, you're free to make copies and redistribute them, but not required in any case. You do this when you choose to. You could decide to make a copy for her, but not for him. And with Freedom 3, you're free when you've made a modified version to distribute copies of it, but it's not required. You could go on using it privately without ever distributing a copy. So if the program carries these 4 freedoms in an adequate way, then it's free. But if one of these freedoms is missing or incomplete, then the users don't control the program. Instead, that program controls the users, and the program's owner controls the program, which means this non-free program is an instrument of unjust power. Power for the developer or owner over the users. This is the fundamental injustice of a non-free program. This is the reason why non-free software should not exist. Thus, if you have the choice to develop a non-free program or do nothing, morally you ought to do nothing, because at least that way you're not hurting the world. You're not creating more injustice. Now, if somebody pointed a gun at you and ordered you to write non-free software or be shot, in that case, I think it's forgivable. I wouldn't say that you have a moral duty to say, I refuse, shoot me. But if it's just a matter of making some money, I don't think that's an excuse. You know, thieves say the same thing, swindlers, corrupt politicians, they all say, I have a family to feed, or I hope to have one someday, so that excuses me to mistreat the whole world in order to get money. Well, I don't think it is an excuse. Well, this is the basic fundamental injustice of non-free software, but not the only injustice. this injustice tends to lead to other injustices. Because nowadays, the owners are aware of the power they exercise or that they hope to exercise when the programs as users. And this means they constantly face the temptation to try to use that power to squeeze more money out of their users by putting in malicious functionalities. And those are very common now. They're basically standard practice. It's not a rare scandalous case when a proprietary program is malware. It's the usual case. If you know what's going on, you expect it every time. So what they do is, since the owner controls the code of the program and the users can't change it, the owner puts in malicious functionalities that do something nasty to the user. For instance, they spy on the user. This is quite common. This example is the Amazon Swindle, an ebook reader I'm sure you've heard of under its official name, which is designed so that it swindles readers out of the traditional freedoms of readers of books. And in particular, it spies on everything the user does. It sends the title of the book to Amazon servers. So even if the book was obtained somewhere other than Amazon, Amazon still knows the user's reading it. It sends the page number sometimes. We don't know how often. If the user highlights text or enters notes, that's sent to Amazon too. Amazon finds out everything that's done with that machine. Total Orwellian surveillance. But this is just one example. Flash Player helps websites spy on the user. The four main proprietary operating systems, Windows, Mac OS, Android, and iOS, all spy on the user in different ways. People have done studies of hundreds of the most popular apps, and they found that the majority of them spied in an obvious way that they could detect easily. The rest, maybe they spy too in a way that's not quite so easy to discover. Apps for streaming that work with a particular server, they spy because the server knows who the user is. The user had to make an account, and the user and the server accumulates a dossier of everything that the user has looked at or listened to. I don't think we should allow that. We want a free society. We should prohibit that practice. And then, so this is why I say, out, damn Spotify. I am so angry at this attempt to take control over how people listen to music that I won't let somebody put on a song for me to hear through Spotify, even if it's running on someone else's computer. Well, it doesn't matter unless you get a copy that you can then share with people. That doesn't do you a damn bit of good. And of course, I feel the same way about Netflix. People have invited me to watch things with them through Netflix, and I said, no, I won't. I won't watch through Netflix. Netflix is at war with our freedom, and I'm going to fight on every opportunity. I won't miss an opportunity to reject Netflix. Then
referring to the DRM.
DRM, but in this case, it's the spying. It's keeping track of what people watch. That's the topic I'm discussing right now. But yes, I'll talk about other nasty things in a little bit. But transportation apps tend, like, the app for Uber and the app for Lyft, they keep track of who you are, so the server keeps track of where you go. It's intolerable that they should replace taxis with a system that tracks people all the time. Well, I can't possibly get a ride on Uber ever because it requires running a non-free program, and I won't. So I will never be able to ask for a ride on Uber. security file, and I don't like that either. So, because Uber is running at a loss, trying to eliminate its competition, I know that Uber's treating it like a war against our freedom, and I'm gonna treat it like a war too. So I absolutely refuse to ride in an Uber car. I've gone to great lengths to refuse rides in Uber cars because that's an opportunity to fight for our freedom, and I won't miss one. I hope you'll join me in rejecting systems that track people. Even the flashlight apps, all they do is turn on the light, but they also send messages to various websites. The only possible reason is to spy on people. They don't need to get any information from anybody to figure out how to turn on the light. There are many products that are tied to a particular server, and it's the non-free software in the products that do this. The Fitbit is a pretty clear example. It collects personal data and sends that to the manufacturer's server, which then offers to sell it back to the user it's about. What gall. But there are more, almost anything that calls itself the Internet of Things. I think Internet of Stings is a better term. Is going to work this way. It could just let you talk to it, but no, it's got to send the data to the manufacturer to spy on you and accumulate your dossier. And then if you want to control the thing, which is supposed to be its feature, you can't talk to it directly. You have to talk to the manufacturer's server. And if the manufacturer gets tired of supporting that server, they just turn it off and the product becomes a brick or a semi-brick. And this has actually happened many times. Basically, if you buy a product that needs to talk to the manufacturer's server, you're basically saying, keep me. And then there's DRM, which was mentioned a couple minutes ago. Digital Restrictions Management, or DRM, is the functionality of telling you, you can't do that. It means designing programs, products, so that instead of serving us, they are designed to stop us from doing things. They become our prison guards instead of our servants. This is the infamous blue ray that attacks users when they try to copy something. But there are actually many products with DRM. The 4 widely used proprietary operating systems all provide the basis for DRM in apps. The Amazon Swindle does DRM, Flash Player does DRM, and most applications that do anything with media do DRM. My principle is never to use a product with DRM unless I have personally at hand everything needed so I can break the DRM. Now, there is free software that can play a DVD and break the DRM. But since I travel a lot and I go to countries where it's a crime to have that, I've decided just not to have it, and so I don't play encrypted DVDs. I don't have encrypted DVDs. I wouldn't be able to use them. And I've never used a Blu-ray disc in my life, and I suppose I never will unless we have free software that can reliably break the DRM on Blu-ray discs. DRM represents an attempt to pervert our technology. And I think the right response is to say, what do you think I am? You think I'd accept this vicious device? Take it away. I value my freedom more than I value watching all the movies in the world. And the thing is, most of us, if we'd never heard of DRM and someone came and said, here's a new product, it's going to restrict you like this and like that, that's exactly how most of us would be responding right now. It's just that sort of people have been lulled into accepting it because they didn't think about the vicious level. when they first considered using it, and they got used to it. I've been saved by the fact that I'm slow to adopt new technology. So it saved me from getting so used to it that I didn't have the strength to say no. But you can find the strength to say no. And especially when you're doing it with other people, that means saying no is also an opportunity to show other people what it means to have a smile. You can inspire other people. Then there are back doors. A back door receives remote commands to tell the program or product to do something nasty to you. For instance, the Amazon swindle has a back door for remotely erasing books. It's hard to tell whether a proprietary program has a back door in it. If you can't study the source code, how will you know? The only way to find out about a back door generally is to see it operate. In 2009, one day, the users of the Amazon swindle saw, well, thousands of them saw, that Amazon had remotely erased thousands of copies of a particular book in one big Orwellian act. Some people saw the book disappear as they were in the middle of reading. And what was the book? It was 1984 by George Orwell. I'm not making this up. If I were writing fiction, I would not pick that example because people would say this is not plausible. What a coincidence. I won't believe this coincidence. But that was the fact. So there was a lot of criticism, and Amazon said it would never do this again unless ordered to by the state. Well, if you've read 1984, that's not a very comforting promise. But it doesn't matter because it wasn't really a promise. It was just a noise for Amazon to make to pull the momentum out of the criticism because it had no legal force. So a few years later, Amazon returned to remotely erasing books without even an order from the state. We know of a few other backdoors. There's a backdoor in the software of the iMonsters to remotely erase any app. And there's a backdoor in Android to remotely erase any app or remotely force installation of any app. Android contains some free components and some proprietary components. This is in one of the proprietary components. Now, a backdoor in a driverless car could be extremely dangerous. If the backdoor can be used to tell the car to take you to some place, whatever place they wish, and not let you open the doors, well, you could stop on the train tracks or just take you straight to secret police torture center. I mean, suppose you live in a place like Chicago where they regularly torture